Okay, hello everyone. It's a privilege for me right now to be with Dr. Jerry Sicat. He's one of our top economists, not just in the Philippines. He's been representing our country even abroad, even in UN and ASEAN forums, right, sir? So right now I'm going to ask him about his thoughts on some economic reforms that maybe our national leaders can consider. That's the first part.
Well, the economic reforms we have been having over time have been in the right direction. We have come from a period in which we had a lot of economic development prospects hindered by many rules and many regulations that have restricted our ability to move forward. This is in the early days of our independence. I wish we had a much more liberal view of the way the economy should have been open towards a lot of participants in those days. Because in those years, we had too many rules adopted that made it very difficult for business to be engaged in an international way. We were engaged only in trying to make good the policies for domestic growth. And domestic growth oftentimes can be adjusted towards the rules that you want to have. But if you have an economy that is more vibrant, that is more tuned towards participating in the global stage of trade, we can really have a much larger role in bringing our abilities to play a role in that kind of prospect. What we did in the course of 30, 40 years of early independence was to remove those prospects because we had so many regulations that were internally adjusted. They were protectionist. They were really just designed to favor Filipinos. Now, favoring Filipinos is not a bad thing, but we must favor Filipinos so that they prosper, not prosper only for a few. The policies we had in those days have been mainly to favor those who were in control of businesses, so they became prosperous only at home. And they allowed a growth that was patterned after creating progress for a limited few. And so we did not create all the jobs we needed to do. They did not create the opportunities that we had in the world stage so that we became competitive with all the other countries. And we were left behind in the progress of many of the in the progress that some of the neighbors we have achieved. If you look around us, we are not so badly off today because we are generally a country with good resources, with people who are capable, with leaders who are oftentimes capable, but not all the time. With leaders who also try to look at the best possible ways we can work it out. But we were hampered by the rules we set way back in 1935 when we said we must own this, we must do that, we must create this only for Filipinos. And so our mindset had been ruined by that. All the years following, we have been making efforts to improve this mindset, and we have had a kind of reform process that has been opening up to the world, always incrementally, step by step. We have been doing this, and today we are in a stage where we are reaching some of these possibilities. But step by step is good. But if your neighbors have been jumping from one place to the other and then becoming part of a more global world, we are far behind. So my guess is that we have to really work hard to make ourselves competitive with the rest of the world around us, to be able to make big steps in the world economy at large. And all we need to do is try to see what our neighbors have done, including China. You know what they did? All of this, they reformed their natural resources laws. They allowed foreigners to participate in the exploitation of their resources, controlling, of course, what they did to contribute. In our case, we tried to do this by exploiting our forest resources, our mineral resources, and so on. And we enrich only very few of us. If you know, our forest resources are almost gone, when in fact we could have utilized the opening of our forest lands to create a great industry in lumber and production for wood and construction materials, doing this at home and creating this and using part of that to energize the economy. But I mean, I've made a very long introduction to this, but the main point I want to make is this. We have to understand where we have failed, where we have to make corrective changes, and these are many. And in my case, I try to write and inform on all these things in my column. I thought that is a column in the Philippine Star that has given me voice in trying to say a lot of things about what's wrong with us. If you also notice, if you read my columns, I try not to criticize too much, although at certain points I criticize on those things that I consider easy to understand, because I can compare what other countries have done and what we have failed to do. This is my style in doing things. If you look at all of these things and you notice that when I send my words of congratulations and supporting judgments about reforms being done, I am in favor of moving forward, but I'm in favor of moving forward much faster than what you might see in the way I write things. So I wish our countrymen and our leaders can really do a major reform of the economic provisions in our Constitution. I wish for a situation in which Filipinos, our leaders, our law students who have been geared into in a legal tradition that is probably extremely nationalistic, should see the world in a broader context. You know, most of us see the world in a broader context. Why? About 10% of Filipinos are going abroad to find jobs. The 90% who are here, the lawyers who are here, must see this, because that is an indication of a changing world, and not look at the narrow specificity of nationalistic interests over what you call overall national viewpoint. And this gives a message to to the educational system. The message being, our world depends on the policies that are chosen in the country. And that means reforming our mindset. And of course, this means looking at various fields of studies. Economics is one, the law is another. Those studying government will understand that laws depend on proper governance, and governance implies studies of political science principles. So political science, history, social science, economics, the law, they all merge together in creating what you might call a better understanding of what we need as a nation. That's all that I can say. If you have anything more.
Well, so far you've already answered one of the next question I'm about to ask. And yes, I've been reading some of his columns, and I have this book, Weighing In. I think it's available in National Bookstore. So for those who are interested in knowing more about the thoughts of Dr. Sicat here, you may check his column and then check the books available written by him. So thank you, sir, for your time. And is there any other thing that you want to say?
Well, my column, this book was written about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And my column is more current on a lot of views. And there are changing views because there are changing conditions.
Okay.
In 2011, we were just waking up in improving a lot of things here and there. We have done a lot of good things in recent times. The main effort of the current government, President Duterte, is a very colorful figure, and he is controversial in that respect. But you must know that he has done a lot of good major decisions by allowing the construction of various infrastructure projects in a way that no president in the past has done, no current president. You look at all the presidents in the last 20 years.
Okay.
And everything was, you study this, you work it out, and then we'll do it. In his case, he had taken the point that we have studied this so many times and so on, why don't we do them at once? And then, of course, we know that we have been so far behind. He has really moved the country forward in a way that we probably do not appreciate now. But when the superhighways in Metro Manila are done, when all the new townships and new cities with better infrastructure are appreciated, when you have the transport network underneath begin to give way, we will discover that we are moving forward. But these things are not going to help us unless we bring forward the private investments that we need to bring in, and this means bring in more foreign capital to help us, because our country cannot move forward fast enough if we depend only on what we can generate at home. What they have done to create a better fiscal situation for the government is good. Why? Because the government raised a lot of resources to balance the need to finance these infrastructure programs. If we did not, if for instance we did not undertake the tax reform that was done only a year and a half ago, we cannot do probably half of what the government is doing now to construct a lot of roads. And just a little note about this. We are here in this neighborhood. I discovered all these roads here, all around this neighborhood. This is the Scout area, the Cubao area, the Tomas Morato. Before 2016, a lot of these roads were not fully expanded. When it's only now, if you travel around, it's all cemented, and the roads are so much wider. Yesterday I was traveling from Ortigas to here, and I went straight from one part of the city up to the area in Quezon Boulevard extension. The roads are so wide. In the past, the roads were narrow with lots of work still undone. This is the kind of thing that has happened around in this neighborhood. I think maybe it's happening elsewhere. I haven't seen the rest of the country, although I have seen much more than what many Filipinos have done. I've traveled around looking at things. We have had good progress all around the country, but I wish the progress had been multiple, the ones that I have observed.
Okay.
To just make my statement a little more, if only we had done the right thing from independence, including some of the mistakes that were committed as part of nation building, we would be in a situation like Taiwan, which is just one country away from us. Korea, South Korea is a very progressive country. It's now a very progressive industrial country. China has done this so quickly, and Vietnam is doing it. Why can't we do it here? We can do it actually. But the mindset of our countrymen has to change, and the mindset of our leaders have to move forward. That's all that I can say.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.